Day trading is a whole. Hold on, let me get rid of that. Day trading is a whole different animal. All right, yeah, my story is a little bit different. It's actually interesting that these brokers didn't want to take my money. They actually laughed at me when they found out how old I was. Now, let me take it back a few years before this situation that I'm about to bring up. February 25th, 2012, my wife and I were hit by a drunk driver. We ended up getting a settlement a couple years later after a long process. And with that settlement, I knew, okay, this is one shot. I don't got family that's got money like this. I don't just get handed money like this. So let me make something happen with this, right? Now, in the meantime, I did have a job. I was working prior to that, but I figured, having a chunk of money on top of that, let's invest it. So I ended up calling a broker, right? And I'm telling him how old I was, how much money I had, and the guy pretty much laughed at me. The guy's like, I don't need a kid your age, telling me that he wants to pull X amount of dollars out all the time. And little did he know, my mind was dead set on investing. Like that's all I wanted to do. Because in high school, I ended up walking out on my second day of class, my senior year, because they told me I wasn't going to graduate on time. When the year prior, they were letting me out that whole year about 12 o'clock because they said I was, my credits were up and, everything's good, and all that. My second day, they told me, you're not going to graduate on time. So I did the only thing I could do, left. Literally walked out of that classroom and left. And I ended up getting a phone call from my mom as I'm halfway, out of the school. And she's like, where are you going? And I told her, I was like, look, they told me I'm not going to graduate on time. And instead of me sitting here and trying to play this little game with them, let me just get a job and all that. So she says, okay, go home and we'll talk. So I'm out of school for a little bit of time and ended up deciding, we ended up deciding, okay, I'm going to homeschool a little bit. Well, little did I know that that was probably the best thing that happened, because the homeschool teacher did something that no other teacher has done for me. And she said, Nino, what are you interested in? And I told her, these are the things that I'm interested in. One of them happened to be investing. So what she did is, okay, let's set up some mock investing then. I'm going to give you a set amount of money. You find something to invest it in. It drew me to it. I'm starting to watch the market a little bit. I'm having to do this little research and figure out what makes things move, right? Back to this whole situation when this stockbroker laughed at me. I essentially was like, all right, you know what? Hung up on him and told my wife, listen, we're going to start a business. Probably wasn't the best idea to do that, because, when your mind is dead set on something, when your mind's set on, hey, I'm going to do this, and you want to just turn on a pivot and switch up and do something else, it doesn't always work out. And in my case, it didn't. I ended up spending a lot of money, thousands of dollars, on screen printing equipment. And now screen printing is something I do know how to do, and I'm very good at it. But the problem is I started having all these problems. I started, I was working with people, and, I was trying to hook everybody up. And then I ended up getting introduced to somebody, and, we tried to do this partnership and all this, and it didn't really work out. Long story short, ended up getting all my screen printing stuff locked in a warehouse that we were trying to open up. And it was about 3 months that I had no access to it. And in those 3 months, my dad ended up dying. And I lost all motivation to do that after that. I didn't care. I didn't want to deal with screen printing. I didn't want to deal with the business. And when I got my stuff back, we set it up actually upstairs in my apartment, and I was trying to do it out of the room. But waking up to do it, I didn't want to do it. I hit a point where I didn't want to do it. Like I'd get a couple orders, and it all of a sudden turned into a drag. So I ended up going to get a job and all this other stuff, and ended up selling all that stuff. It's weird how life kind of sets you up for things, because going back to work and stopping screen printing was probably the best thing also that happened, because although I didn't realize it at the time, I ended up getting introduced to a friend of mine named Casey, who we're sitting there at break, and I don't know how the conversation got brought up, but I'm like, man, I've always wanted to invest. And he goes, oh man, you could do that from your phone. And I was like, yeah, but you need a lot of money. And at the time, it's like, I got 2 kids, I got a wife, I got we got bills, we got an apartment, car payment, all that kind of stuff. And to have money to just throw out there and not know if you're gonna make any, and I'm thinking, you need thousands of dollars, and I'm not, at the time I'm not willing to risk any more money like that, because of what I just went through with screen printing. Now he's like, nah man, you can start with like $5. And I'm like, thinking like, okay, let me see the app. So we looked on the app, and I'm checking it out, and I ended up throwing some money in there, and I'm like, I kind of liked it. I was like, okay, it motivated me to start learning, right? Now, this is about 4 years ago when I found out about this little app, right? So I'm like, all right, we're doing this now. So, you know, throughout the next couple of weeks, I'm kind of like trying to figure this out, and I'm losing a little bit of money, but I kind of make a little bit of money, and then I ended up finding Robinhood. Now, I know a lot of people know about Robinhood with the controversy and everything right now, but this is pre that. Like, this is prior to all this stuff. This is when Robinhood was the first commissions free trading. And let me tell you why I switched, because what I realized with the other site that I was trading on is I was paying per trade, right? I'm paying every time I buy and every time I sell. Now, when you have like $5-10 in your account and you're trying to just figure it out, I don't care if you made 20 cents. The whole trade was a loss, because now you paid $2 to place the trade and $2 to stop the trade, right? So you lost $4 and you made pennies, right? So when I saw Robinhood was commission free, I'm like, man, I told him about it. And we switched over to Robinhood, and I tell you, we went to town trying to learn everything. Every second of every day was spent on our phones trying to figure this out. We're learning about different things. And, when I would pull up YouTube, it would turn into, everyone's telling you to buy their program, and, they tell you a little bit of information, and the next thing you know, it was, subscribe, pay $1,000 for my DVD, or, whatever it was. And once again, that became something I'm not going to do. And I'm like, I started realizing, you keep searching things, you learn a different term, and then you go and search that term, and you study that term and what it means. And that's what brought me to this point, and now I would say for the last, I could be wrong, but I'd say for the last 3 years, 2.5 years, maybe 2.5 years roughly, I think I've shown myself as a trader. Now, I've never been on YouTube trading. All my stuff is on Instagram. If you guys want to check it out, go ahead and follow me at the Nino Way on Instagram. It's @TheNinoway. Now, I've been posting trading stuff on there for a while. But anyway, I was doing stocks for the first year, right? But then I kind of realized some things about stocks, that it's like, there's a rule, pattern day trader rule. You need $25,000 or more to be able to day trade all day. Otherwise, you only got 3 day trades that you can place in the course of a week, which limits you, but also makes you look for the best stocks that you can possibly trade, right? But at the same time, I was telling myself, like, I can't do that. I don't want to sit here and keep waiting. And I guess that was my impatience, which granted led me to the next thing. I picked up Forex. Now, I was playing with demo accounts of Forex while I was trading stocks. And, as I'm learning more about stocks, I'm kind of realizing, there's certain things that you look for in Forex that are very similar to stocks. Patterns, all this kind of stuff, right? But the thing that threw me off is the way Forex is structured. It when you click on these things, you're like, what is going on? The different numbers, and you're not understanding what you're looking at. But I figured, okay, if I did this with stocks, I can do it with Forex, right? So started picking it up. Forex has done something for me that nothing else has, and that's gave me this hope. There's a way to make something happen with your life, right? And I remember I spent a whole year having to withdraw money to pay bills around here and just live life, And I wouldn't have been able to do that with stocks because of the amount I can trade on Forex. Now, granted, with the amount I can trade, there's downfalls. You got to watch it, but it gave me something different. You know what I mean? I've made thousands of dollars on Forex, and I've never had to pay for an education. I've never paid for signals, and it's really like that's why I'm here, because it's like the information's all over YouTube, but I'm really just trying to help you guys pile it into one source and get the information out there, because it's like, a lot of these guys that you see that are already driving these fancy cars, these guys are like, I'm not saying they're bad traders, but there's a good amount of that money that they're able to reinvest is coming from the people that are paying them to learn. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a business. But there's people out here that can't do that. There's people out here that can't afford to pay somebody $1,000, $500, especially if that's all they have to throw on their account, or maybe they don't even have that. Maybe they have $100, They can't afford to pay you, $500, $1,000 to learn, because that's it. That's all the money that they had. Now they got to figure out how to get that money back, So that's why my channel's here. My channel's to show you, and that's why I'm gonna vlog too, because my channel's to show you there's ups and downs. that I deal with too, but that should never discourage you, especially when you start to realize trading is not hard, it's a mentality, you know. But yeah, with that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching and stay tuned for the next video.